This video is of a 7-day cruise of the Adriatic, which starts here in Rome's Civitavecchia and the beach, because we stayed there for a day before we joined the ship, right through every port, getting off at Trieste.
If you want to visit the Vatican, get off at San Pietro, not the terminus, and you can actually see it as the train pulls into the station.
But we started here, midway between Civitavecchia and Roma, in this area, Fregene, the station halfway between the two. Which is about 8 kilometers from Rome Leonardo da Vinci Airport, which is on the coast that way. Rome's about 20 minutes that way, so it's an ideal place to stay if you want to extend your cruise by seeing Rome and having the beach. And Civitavecchia is about 40 minutes that way by train or by car on the road. Your ship and the dock is just a bus ride away, but at the station there will be a number of buses because there's probably 7 ships in and they're all in different docks. If your ship is heading down from Rome to go around the horseshoe and up into the Adriatic, you're going to have a day's sailing before hitting your first port. You'll pass the island of Stromboli. It is a huge volcano, still kind of active. In fact, it blew last 93 years ago. Actually, that's not long ago, is it? It makes me wonder why people are building houses at the bottom. We went out through the Messina Straits and headed for Kefalonia and docked in Argostoli Bay. Even though we had to tender as another ship had the port, this beautiful island ensured our ship was empty. So you could have had a great day on board with the ship all to yourself, but practically everyone went ashore.
This is our first stop on the Queen Victoria Adriatic cruise. We are in Kefalonia, in the capital, Argostoli, and there is so much to do, even if you just get off the ship and walk around cafes, restaurants, shopping, museums, churches, everything.
The local bus can take you to the beaches on the other side of the tip. We're inside the bay, that would go out to the sea, or the ferry, the local ferry which goes regularly, can take you across to the beach at the other side of the bay. But if you choose to stay and go turtle spotting, there is a sanctuary just beyond the bridge. You could get the electric train from just by the ship. That will show you around this very small town, but it's easy to walk. You can either walk along the promenade or back along the shops. Tours, mainly by boat, to places like the caves.
You can hire a boat here to go either to 11 Beach or White Rocks Beach. You can either drive it yourself, it's got a GPS system, or if you're too scared to drive the boat, then somebody will drive you. You've got a map, so what can go wrong?
Fish, mussels, and other local produce are in abundance here. And if you walk up and down the high street, produce that probably comes from Asia can be found too. Here at the museum, a walking tour starts, which takes you along to the sinkholes, which are quite a walk, but it is a gentle stroll. And there at the end, you'll see this very strange round building. But the lighthouse of St. Theodoron, also known as Fanari, can also be seen as you sail out. We saw something quite special as we sailed out. Unfortunately, there was a big fire in Kefalonia, and the sea fire plane swept down, collected water out of the sea to take back and put the fire out. And it did this about 4 or 5 times before we left the bay. Even all the people in the expensive grill lounge vacated their lovely seats and came down to watch it from the deck because it was a much better view. The next morning we were in Corfu, Greece's second biggest island in the Ionian Sea.
The port shuttle takes you to the port gate, and then you hop on a shuttle bus which will bring you to Old Fort Square, which is just between the new and the old fort, and just opposite the hop-on hop-off bus and the city tours. The streets are really narrow and they offer a very welcome shade on a hot day. I'm following my Google Maps for the beach. I'm coming straight through the town and left at the park.
Although we are showing you clips, just a minute of each of these stops and bits of the ship, we have 4 port guides of all of these ports and more from all over the world on Doris Visits. Please hit that subscribe button and share with your fellow cruisers.
The closest beach is behind the Museum of Asian Art, and you could be tempted to walk down to the fort, but if you go there, you've gone the wrong way. You've got to go through the art by the museum. The ramp behind me is the way down to this beach here. It may not have golden sands, but it looks very inviting and the water looks very clear. Turn left at the bottom. You could get a bus to a sandy beach. It's about 45 minutes on the bus, but this is just a 6-minute stroll through the town to the clear water, and it's even got a little cafe right down by the edge.
And occasionally we give you a couple of steers or tips. This cafe was brilliant. There was a queue for tables, and the guy serving was absolutely really happy and funny, and that's why everybody was going there. Whereas this one next door, there was a queue of people complaining.
And this is how far I am from the ship. I feel like Shirley Valentine.
In fact, there were so many people complaining, it took us 45 minutes to get a Greek salad, and then the bread didn't arrive with it. But after mentioning it, the guy kindly, after some time, took the bread off the bill.
Another way to get round.
And it was back to the ship. You know, when it's not school holidays, it's very easy to forget that this is a family ship. These are the youth areas, but there were no youths there. Total adult ship, as we headed into quite the surprise. Kotor in Montenegro, tucked just under Croatia, is a fjord. Miles from Norway, it looks more like a fjord than some of the Norwegian fjords. An incredibly beautiful drive-in, over an hour up the fjord, which you should definitely get up early for.
Welcome to Kotor. It's said to be the gem of the Mediterranean Sea. The ship has docked right next to the city wall in the old town. Couldn't be easier. You come into the old town through Seagate, and that's where most of the walking tours meet up. Next to this beautiful restaurant is the Solidarity Museum, and it was built to respect all the nations in Yugoslavia that came together to rebuild Montenegro after the 1979 earthquake. It cost €6 to get in. It's either St Tryphon's or St Tryphon's Cathedral. It goes back to 1166 and it costs €4 to view. So this is the view of the square from the upstairs of the cathedral. And what was Stuart doing while I was filming the church? Oh yes, buying an ice cream. How unusual. Caught in the act. This next part of the wall is where they had a garbage store in the 13th to 14th century.
They just tossed their rubbish over into the sea, which of course nobody can do on a cruise ship now.
This is a pebbly beach, but it's great for if you just want to swim.
And this is where we start to realize our week is slowly creeping away.
If you've been out and you fancy a late lunch, you can come to the Lido deck, you grab one of these and a pager, you write your pager number in, and they text you when your food's cooked. Buzzer goes off.
Another great night on the ship as we leave Kotor. But our buzzer's gone off, and our cruise is heading to an end. Dubrovnik.
We're back in Dubrovnik and the shuttle bus has dropped us off, as always, at Pile Gate. Let's go in. The walled city of Dubrovnik is bigger than those of Kotor or Split. There are two ways of seeing it. One, a normal tour, or two, a Game of Thrones tour. But make sure that you watch our video first. We have films on all three. Please watch and subscribe on our Doris Visits Cruise channel.
So for Dubrovnik, we have a Game of Thrones tour where we even go up into the woods and find the wedding scene location. We walk the walls in another video. And the town of Dubrovnik.
There's nobody trying to enact the famous scene today.
We found someone that was, and we filmed it when we were here.
We also have a film of walking the walls on Doris Visits.
Please subscribe to Doris Visits and do review one of my books. Start with Cruise Ship Heist.
Today the buzzer bar is closed, but the view is spectacular.
It doesn't take long to see Dubrovnik. You can have a great lunch here. The seafood's fantastic. But you might want to just creep away to the beach for the afternoon, and the easiest way to do that is by the West Gate. We show you that on our Dubrovnik film. Please check out our films.
We've been to Dubrovnik many times before. This is our favourite restaurant on the beach, and we filmed how to get there on Doris Visits. You go through the West Gate.
Back on the ship, if your bedside light stops working, you may have pulled the lead out from behind the bedside cabinet by pulling your case out.
One thing to remember on the Queen Victoria is on the middle lift there are three buttons. The middle one is to go up, the bottom one's to go down, and the top one is to go to the special grills if you've got a special card. And similarly, when you are embarking or disembarking at the bottom, there are two buttons. The bottom one is to go up because you can't go down any further, and the top one is to go to the special grills.
So this is where we leave the Queen Victoria, sitting next to the Norwegian ship, which we've had a Norwegian ship follow us all the way through the Adriatic. It's been a great 7-day cruise, and we've not had to go through passport control because we got on in Rome and we're getting off in Trieste, both Italy. Trieste, as we've said before on Doris Visits, and please subscribe, is a great port. There's a fabulous palace castle down the end there, bus ride away, which is really worth visiting. We have a film of that on Doris Visits and a film of this wonderful town. So please see the town. It's not necessarily a gateway to Venice, because Venice is at least 2 hours away on a coach, 2 hours back, and if you put a lunch break in the middle, which the excursions normally do, you're going to see very little of Venice. So do consider seeing Trieste. Look at it. What a square.
I walked all this way to get James Joyce's autograph, and look, he's just ignoring me. In contrast, Mickey Mouse, who was around about the same time, gave me his autograph no problem 2 weeks ago when I was on a Disney ship.
Time for us to get the train to Trieste Airport and travel home. It is another way to get to the Miramar Palace, and if you are travelling light, you might be able to do that on the way to the airport. The other thing you pass is the shipyard, very famous shipyard that's built so many new cruise ships. And there's a new one, Mein Schiff, the TUI ship, which is almost ready to set sea. The airport, Trieste Airport, if you do have to stay there, pretty boring small airport, but the upstairs is better than the downstairs, and there are lots of USB sockets next to the plug sockets for charging your phone. What can we show you next? Well, we could show you where the ship's going next. It's going to Split. Sadly, we're not. Please subscribe to Doris Visits.
There's two ships in Split today, the MSC Symphonia and the P&O Azura. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Guess where we are? We're in Split. And if you want to pick up the free walking tour, it's up here. So we found the free Spirit walking tour. Free. You just give a tip at the end. So this massive statue behind me is Gregory of Nîmes, and you're supposed to rub his toe for luck. The special thing about this palace is that people actually live here and have been for about 1500 years. This area is the killing zone. We saw it in Troy. These substructures or basements were where they filmed the places where the dragons were kept in Game of Thrones.
Against the glamorous backdrop of the Baltic cruise revival, a covert team races to stop a second attack on the $40 billion cruise industry. A compelling ensemble of flawed, deeply human characters. Think slow horses. They operate across a global stage with gritty momentum, but intellect trumps firepower. Its demand for sharp detective work is layered with opulence and geopolitical complexity, like The Diplomat, elevated to a global threat level with a ticking clock intensity of 0 day. Only this time, the battleground isn't a war zone, it's the public playground of cruise ships. The team leave Miami and fly to Germany. They pick up the ship in Warmerand. They sail up to Latvia doing one gig, then to Helsinki where they get the Tallink ferry across to Tallinn, pick up the train to Narva and into St. Petersburg. All they've got to do now is get out and back to the ship at Tallinn. This isn't just a cruise, it's a mission. This isn't just a mission, it's survival. On Kindle, paperback and audiobook. The unexpected.